This image is masking tape directly on the wall, but it's referring to a line with the duck in this poetry. And the poetry is not, I mean, very traditional poetry. It's sort of nonsensical stream of consciousness thinking, in that I was writing down lines that I'd heard on television and heard on the street, and converting lines that I'd heard. Like there's one in here, don't worry about driving off that cliff, you won't get hurt, we can rebuild you. It's a combination of sort of the thinking from television, from the $6 million man, or from medical shows on TV. And so it's a combination of a lot of different media effects on us. And we can't escape from a lot of these memories. We can't escape from a lot of these effects that it has on our lives. And that's sort of what I'm talking about in all of this. Not that we want to escape, not that it's really bad, but it's funny how we're in a situation in life that may be very personal, or it may be very private, and we feel like we're in a soap opera, or we feel like, oh, this is deja vu, it's happened before, and it's actually happened on a TV show you saw that. So that's what this is trying to relate to. Now, I mentioned with the poetry that there were lines that I'd heard and I'd overheard, maybe on buses or walking along the street. And this image relates to something that's also in the video about two women in Minnesota talking. But at the time, it sort of struck me because I was writing down the words. Quite often, sometimes if I hear very clear conversation, it's sort of like the artist as voyeur. I start writing down the words, or taking different snippets that I think maybe I can use later in art. It's sort of like artists used to always be sketching from different locations, and we still do that, but also you can use a lot of different types of source material, and one of them is conversations. And in the video, I'm trying to get the effect that these words that I've heard the women talking about, the words that the women were speaking, affect me in my personal life too, because of the information coming in. I've made it important by writing it down, and so that it's very difficult for me to just release it. What amazed me when I was in this art gallery in a cafeteria and listening to the women speak, and they were speaking so blatantly and loudly and clearly about this very, very personal relationship, about this problem she was having with her husband. But the thing that struck me was that they could have come from lines off of television. They were so cliche, and it's sort of like even our most personal parts of our lives are cliche. Like I was trying to relate to with the deja vu of the media. And I don't know whether it's media copies us or we copy media. And this image, I was working, I mean, because I am a visual artist, I'm always working with things that interest me visually, and so I was interested in the brush stroke versus the sort of the rubbed, the stencil mark. That's a different type of mark. And this little piece here that says wall on it and points up, it's sort of a visual trick. I mean, just a little sort of a comic visual trick to me, but it's sort of also about signs that we have in the world around us. I mean, very obvious signs that that we all take for granted and we don't really look at. But some of them, you know, may be ridiculous signs, and some of them don't make any sense. The images along the bottom, this is an image from a sort of dream, and a television floating in the water. When I was out at Vancouver, this was sort of the Vancouver skyline. And then the image in the corner says a documented case at the bottom. And it was about a woman is killing her husband over the car keys. And I'm always collecting little pieces of news out of papers because, but this one in particular, I thought it was so strange. Like, how can you, if you're living with someone, get so angry and so violent over a set of car keys? I don't analyze these things psychologically, but it just interests me in that manner. Okay, let's see. Yeah, I was mentioning about signs in the last one, and this is a direct reference to how we walking along through life. Is the way I could describe it. But we see things and we sort of just obey them, and they may be nonsensical like this. Like if you saw a sign that said down, but you wouldn't really read it, you just assume it was up. I guess it's just sort of, this is a reference to us as the masses that do as we're told mostly. I mean, we wear our seatbelt when we're told, or we cross the street when we're told. And I'm not saying that that's bad, it's just that, I mean, to order to have an orderly society, we have to have that. But it's just an interesting phenomenon how we're sort of like robots in a way. Imaginative robots, but we follow things along. And visually, I really like the way these two went along because of the movement and going up, and then the craziness of the top imagery. This is another sort of environmental piece. I was living in Toronto at the time when I did this, and of course the Toronto water isn't as good as some. And sort of comment on the water polluting our systems. This show will be coming down in 1 week's time, but if you'd like to see it again, it will be held at the Start Gallery in Kitchener in May, the 1st of May to the end. And that's located at 125 King Street West in downtown Kitchener.